Oh, there it goes. So yeah. So this is breaking it down with Baish. I am Baish. I am an entity of from the ROC, the head of the table. And essentially this is a just shoot the shit kind of show with well, I don't think he needs to be introduced, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Vinnie Greene, a man with many talents here.
Ish.
You know, Vinny, tell people about yourself.
So for those who don't know me, I'm Vinnie Greene. I podcast in the past with Invasion of Potty Snatchers under the MDK banner. We also did another show, Dark Side of the Moon. MDK,
I mean, Noel is a dick, so.
Yeah, me and my former co-host, Noel John Toohey, longtime friend, brother from another mother. He's a legend. I did podcasts with him for a couple of years. We did Invasion of Potty Snatchers, where we covered all horrors and science fiction. We did Dark Side of the Moon. We did a lot of comic book kind of content. And we also did like MDK Presents, which was an interview-based show. We kind of tried to do a little network. It ran for a while, and then it fell away, and then I got into other stuff. And now I'm hopefully coming back in the new year. And I say hopefully, I definitely am, because I'm joining JG's Lounge with my very own show, Howling at the Moon. So, and I can't wait to get started. I'm really, really, really excited because I got the itch again lately to do podcasting because I've been appearing on a few shows, and I can't wait to get started. And also on the side, I'm an author, upcoming book called River Bones, out March 1st, 2024. Got delayed a little bit, but it's finally getting there. And I've got another book coming out next year as well called The Lonely Lighthouse. So that's me in a nutshell. I've dropped it a great big nutshell.
Not to pat yourself on the back, but it's a whole hell of a lot. No, but yeah, we are under Jukebox JG Lounges banner here with our different podcasts. Bringing people different content and different interviews from people all walks of life. Like you hail from Ireland, if no one can tell by his leprechaun voice.
Am I allowed to curse on this show?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Fuck you, man.
Now, if people don't know why it looks so simple behind Vinny, he is in a Swedish prison right now. So they give him one little desk and a little thing for him. He's not showing you his cot with his handcuffs tied to him. Like,
I'm actually currently handcuffed to the desk, and Lars and Sven are watching the door.
There you go. But, so when you first started out, when you first was like, okay, I want a podcast, and you found that butt dart. I mean, no, when you found him, and you guys wanted to do your own thing, like how did that come about?
So initially, when I wanted to become a writer, I was kind of insulated in my one little bubble, trying to figure out the whole art form, start from scratch, no training. And during the pandemic, I ended up writing for a group called the Obsessive Media Group, which is used to be run by Andrew Grievous. And Andrew brings a lot of young aspiring writers on, and he pretty much has this great group of editors like Mark Armitage, Laura Stewart, and there's great grafters like Don Shanahan there and Will Johnson who are writers, and they kind of help mold young people who want to be a writer and or want to be writers. And they cover stuff like they had Sports Obsessive, they have Horror Obsessive, which I think he's no longer in control of, but he's bringing back 25YL because it started as a Twin Peaks website. But he pretty much brings in young aspiring writers. He gives them to really, really, really credible editors, and then to teach them how to write essays about movies, articles about movies, recommendation pieces, just fun favorite lists, all this kind of thing. And I pretty much steeped myself in that world for a solid 9 months. I didn't write any kind of fiction in that time. I got used to the critical process. I improved as a writer. And then at the end of that period of time, I was like, I really want to keep going reviewing movies, but I want to do it in another way. And I looked, and podcasting seemed really, really exciting to me, and a really good way of kind of scratching that itch. And I wanted someone that I had natural chemistry with. And Noel John Toohey is a longtime friend of mine. I know him since I'm a teenager, guts of 20 years now. I thought he's always been really big into movies, and I've always had a lot of good chemistry with him. So I said, like, I propositioned him and a friend of ours called Karen McAvoy, who's a sound engineer and all audio editing and all that kind of thing. So the three of us got together. We started a thing called MDK, which stands for Murder, Dead, Kill Productions, because we were huge Demolition Man fans, and MDK is what they call a 187, a homicide in that movie. And pretty much we got the name from that. And we decided what we're going to do. Eventually, we had multiple podcasts, and then we decided that we were stretching ourselves too thin. Unfortunately, Carl left. Noel kept it going. And we started going with just Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which I mentioned earlier, was Horn's science fiction. And that's how we got into the podcast world, or how I got into the podcast world, because I used to write movie columns and articles, and I used to review movies in print. And after my tenure ended with the Obsessive Media Group, I wanted to do something different, but stay in that kind of space. And that's how I ended up reviewing movies and podcasting.
Okay, that's cool. That's, I saw a lot of people have like an itch for it when they start doing something else, or they want to talk about stuff in their life or talk about stuff that they see. And then but you went like if we're going like Juilliard, going to acting school, and then going into podcasting, you went from like writing and understanding like what to do in that, and then springboarding that into doing podcasting and, that kind of stuff. So when you were doing the Potty Snatchers, and when you were doing, Dark Side of the Moon, like what was the best part of all of that?
The best part for me was learning how to really have an open-ended conversation. And not only that, but meeting all these awesome people. Like, I met you through podcasting, I met Dylan through podcasting. Like, the cool people I got to interview: Adam Cahill, Larry Hankin, like Mark Scheffler. Like, you know what I mean? I got to meet people and talk to people that I never thought I would ever meet. I would never have met you if we weren't podcasting. Like, it's crazy, And like, look at Roman. Like Roman, who's one of the coolest dudes on planet Earth. I went and met him and for podcasting. The whole entire podcasting group were on. That crazy flat earther, David Weiss. Like, that was one of the greatest things ever about podcasting. That dude, flat earth man, that dude. He's the reason I wanted to do a show like Howling at the Moon. People like him. I want to talk to people like him consistently. I want to argue with people over stuff like that. It's just so pretty much. But for the whole Potty Snatcher thing, the MDK thing, the best thing about it was the people that I got to meet. And because of that, I am a year nearly removed from MDK, but yeah, I'm still involved in a network of people that I was introduced to during my time with MDK. And because of that, I'm able to have a great relationship with Dylan, and he trusts me enough to come on with my own show on his network that's growing really, really well. Because of that MDK, I think it's the relationships that I was able to foster and build during my time there that's really been the best part about that.
So like with me and podcasting, like one of my best things was like the people meeting you and like Roman and Dylan, all these other guys that we can collab with and do like other kind of stuff. So like what was the worst part of the podcasting?
I've had some interesting experiences. I won't name names, right? Because the people that I let's just say, in terms of production quality, I've been on shows that I've recorded multiple times that never went to air. Like, sat through multiple hours, both times recording the same content for two episodes, and neither of them went to air ever. And they were the most insanely fun experience I've ever had. It was like 4 hours of recording multiple segments with this show, and none of it went to air. It was incredible. It happened twice. They had terrible technical difficulties. It was amazing. One of the worst experiences ever as well was the second episode I ever tried to record with before we even knew what we were going to call the podcast was Amazing Spider-Man 2. We had every single technical difficulty you could ever imagine. We recorded for 5 hours. We didn't even use the episode. Yeah, it was like I was trying to learn how to use hardware, software. It was horrible. But all that stuff makes you better in the end. It's all learning,
So for with you like that, I remember doing a podcast with you and my brother-in-law, Eli, and we did your show and then our show and then a piece of another one of your shows. So we were online with each other for 5 hours. But unlike the other guy, that went to air. So,
that was awesome.
I don't want to say that first part was some of the people that we interviewed where you could tell that they're not being truthful.
Yeah.
And while you're interviewing them, and like you can catch them in a lie, you're just like, all right, I'm gonna go past it. Then you keep going, and you're just like, dude, like,
Okay, my name's not Vinnie. Okay, Baish, you out with me.
it's Vincenzo. I already know. It's all right.
Vincenzo Verdi.
He's been running from the Irish government for so long that you know.
He'll
But
never take me alive.
So in does podcasting affect your personal life, or like if your personal life is going bad, like does it affect your podcasting, or are you able to just like cut those two and like have two separate entities?
One thing I've been good at my whole life is compartmentalization. I'm able to separate different parts of my mind when I need to. Like when I need to write, I don't think about anything but writing. When I'm sitting here with you, I'm not thinking about exterior things. I'm thinking about this conversation. I'm thinking about the topics. I'm very focused that way. People kind of think I'm a mess or whatever because I'm very jovial. But like when I mean business, I mean business. I can be very serious and very focused and well concentrated. So like when I'm writing, like earlier on today, I was writing the Lonely Lighthouse, reviewing it because it's going to my editor next week. So I didn't like I'm sitting here. Usually when I'm working with that book, I work with a particular piece of music to have focus. But because the book is so well polished at the moment now, I'm been just writing and reviewing in deadly silence. Like so, like when I need to focus, I can focus. When I need to concentrate, I can concentrate. So when I'm focusing on podcasting, I'm very well attuned to what I need to do in that moment. Whether I'm planning a show out or trying to create content or anything like that kind of thing, well, I just want to focus on the task. So like what I like to do is I like to keep things in different stages of development, so they kind of occupy different spaces of my mind. So that's why River Bones is out in March and The Lonely Lighthouse is going to my editor now, because when I was writing River Bones, I was reviewing Lonely Lighthouse and vice versa, because you're using different parts of your mind. And so I like to compartmentalize the different things, and that's how I stay focused. So when I'm podcasting, when my personal life is going badly enough, personal life is always a distraction because it's your day to day, it's your everything. But when you get stuck into something, when I get stuck into something, I try not to think about anything but the thing I'm focused on, because otherwise it's just going to distract you from your goals, what you're trying to do.
Okay, because when I sit there and I'm like, all right, like work is going crappy, or like you got bills, or people in your life are just being, for lack of a better word, assholes. And you sit back and you're like you try to use this as an escape.
Yeah,
like I don't know about you, but this is what I use as an escape to get away from like all the other noise and stuff. I think you're way better at being able to just like you said, compartmentalize like everything, like stay super focused on what you're trying to do and not worry about other stuff until like the record button stops.
Yeah,
and then you have to get back in that, in that range of like thought and stuff. So when you sit back and you're like, okay, like when you first started doing podcasting, where did you want Potty Snack, or where'd you want it to go? Like, what was the initial thought of where you wanted it to go?
I know we had high hopes for a while there, but like we were just kind of like really focused on making a name for ourselves in Ireland, because like we're an Irish centric show. Like at the end of the day, we're Irish guys, and the Irish market is what we wanted to do. But I think like we were, like I mentioned focus there a moment ago. What we lacked at the start was focus. We should have just been one thing. Our editor at the start, Carl McAvoy, he said that to us. We should have listened to him, but we were greedy. We wanted to talk about this, that, and the other thing. We wanted to talk about everything, but we should have just been one thing. So initially, I think our second run as Potty Snatchers was a lot tidier than the initial run. Like when we were Dark Side of the Moon, Potty Snatchers, MDK Presents, and we were many, many things. But at the end of the day, we were three guys and we we're pumping out so much content. And I think quantity became our obsession instead of quality. And in the second run, when we were just focusing on Potty Snatchers, I think the quality was much better, even though we lost Carl. But I learned so much from him because he's such an educated dude, and he's very good at like breaking things down for a lay person. Like, he's very good at making the complicated simplistic. And I learned a lot from Carl and talking to him before he left us. And I was able to pick up the reins ever so slightly, even though I was never as good as him. But like, so we were able to keep going, and I taught myself a little bit of video editing and stuff like that. But like, we wanted to kind of just do well in Ireland originally, and initially, but I think we had more success internationally, which is kind of weird. because when we looked at our numbers and stuff like that from Spotify and downloads, a lot of it was like America, Scandinavia, places called Asia and stuff like that, and Central Europe. But Ireland, strangely enough, our numbers weren't huge, but we did okay, like considering we're two guys from small towns with no like pre-existing fan bases or anything like that. So we did well, but yeah, we didn't really have any great ambitions. We just kind of wanted to survive. We did well. We had fun. We met some cool people, and now I'm not sure if Noah's ever going to get back into the podcasting space, whatever he's doing now.
Let's hope he doesn't. Let's hope he doesn't.
But we've learned many new skills. Like I learned how to audio edit because of podcasting. I learned how to video edit. I learned how to do long form conversation. I learned how to interview people. I learned how to break down movies in succinct ways. So I learned lots of things from it. Like I don't think we had any dead set goals. We just wanted to have some fun and talk about movies. But we did well. We did some decent numbers for a tiny podcast.
Yeah. So when dealing with the podcast, and did podcasting ever affect your mental health? Because you said this is where you wanted to go. So
talking to Noah John multiple times a week would always affect someone's mental health.
I would think so, because I talked to him and after he sent me that ninja thing, like for people that, don't know.
I'm sorry, Noah John, I love you.
No, I'm giving him shit. He's a great guy. He's a good guy, but he had sent me something where I don't know if it was somebody that he was related to or what, was like, hey, I'm going to be a ninja. His niece. She said, I'm going to be a ninja for Halloween, but she spelt it like nigga. Like, so it was like the funniest shit because she just kept saying it, and it was hilarious. So anytime what's up, then it's just hilarious.
And he practices the martial art of ninjutsu. He's just of course.
He's just crazy. So I ask about the mental health just because I know of a lot of podcasters that, like, even if you talk to them, like you know this, and some people don't know this. If you podcast, you have to have a timeline of where you're going, because if you have a niche podcast, you're going to run out of stuff to talk about by like episode 6. And the crazy thing, I think I told you a while back, is like podcasts get started every day. They said like 60% of podcasts don't get past episode 3 or 4. Because once you get like, oh, we're talking about this today. All right, the next week we're talking about the same thing. Oh, the third we're talking about the same thing. And after that, nobody wants to hear you talk about the same shit over and over. Have you ever had that problem where you ran into a wall with content or with what to talk about?
At the start, the show was a different format. We were kind of breaking movies down scene by scene, or trying to do this really like in-depth analysis. And then Noel came up with this great idea. He said, like, why don't we just do open conversation, talk about the movies, not in chronological order, just like two dudes in a pub kind of thing. And that's when we changed our format, because before that, it was getting a bit monotonous. We were having a hard time. Some of the episodes were running over 2 hours long. It was crazy. Some of the episodes were running longer than the duration of the movie. So like, we were like, this can't be, like, and with people's concentration levels getting less and less and less, and trying to kind of create some sort of audience for ourselves, our shows got shorter and shorter and shorter. And like at the start, because the format was restrictive, and that was my idea of the format, and Noel improved this greatly with his idea for the new format, we were able to talk more freely, more openly about the movies, and we were able to go on more tangents, more rants, and I think the show became a lot more fun. We ended up, like, as you said, a lot of people don't ask a lot of episodes, but we did over 100 episodes on our format, like with Potty Snatchers, Dark Side, and MBK Presents, and all the different iterations and all these different things we did. So we did pretty well, like, and as the show went along, it got shorter and shorter. And that's one thing that we learned, that, like, because it went from a 2-hour episode to like a 30-minute episode. And because we were able to do shorter episodes, we were able to do more content and more quick releases. And it actually kept the show a lot more fun for us, because instead of talking about one movie for an hour, you were talking about 2 movies in an hour. And then you didn't get bored because you were constantly talking about something different. And that's one thing we learned, that the format and the content, the shorter the better sometimes when you're talking about movies, and especially when you're doing a quick review,
So when you get, what I mean by, like, so when you get to a point and you're like, okay, we hit a wall, and you did the other thing, and you pivoted to a point where okay,
Pivot.
let's see how we change it and like move, like let's do this and do this different. And
Yeah.
you know, most podcasts, you know, don't do that. They just keep going. Like for us, like not us, but in the ROC, in the other podcasts I'm in, like our episodes do go an hour and 40 minutes, 2 hours long, just because there's 5 dudes sitting around a table, and no, it's not a muffin party, but it's more of a thing of like all of us sitting around, like, and it's ideas.
Muffin party.
It's ideas coming from each person throwing out
Exactly. Yeah.
this, and that's why it takes so long. But in the same thing, like I've had people, I don't know if people have told you this, is like you'll be sitting there at work listening to something and just start busting out laughing because someone said something, and everyone else is looking at you like, what's wrong with this person? Just like, you know, laughing. I think that's the best part. Like, I don't know. So did you guys, or even now, do you ever get like, have you ever gotten hate mail? Or like hate
no,
mail,
like,
or bad ones?
no, like, in terms of the length of the episode, though, I think 30 minutes of No John is enough for anyone. In all fairness.
I mean, like, oh, you don't like us? No. No, just keeps talking. He's like, I don't understand why you want to talk right now.
But no, that's one thing we really lacked, and is we really found it hard to get interaction from our listeners. Like I don't know why, but we got small bits of interactions and a couple of comments, but like that was a killer for us, like, you know, and that was something that really bugged me a lot, and that's why I really wanted us to have a social media manager. We never had one in our entire time, and that really annoyed me because social media is a real weakness for me. Like, you know, I'm slowly improving on it, but it's a tough son of a bitch to really get good at. Like, and like, so when you don't have that kind of thing where you can create interaction with your listeners, that was something that really bugged me. We had decent interaction on our Facebook page and stuff like that, but no, I didn't get any hate mail, unfortunately. Hate mail would have been good. At least we know people are listening. Oh. You know what I mean?
You know, we had hate mail, but it was like weird hate mail. So like, I think you were on a couple of times when we were like, there's a guy named The Drip, and anytime we talk bad about him or talk shit about him, people would come on there and defend him like crazy. Then there was one crazy lady, I hope it was a lady, not sure, but she wanted to do things to Eddie and like stretch him out and have us hold a camera while they did stuff together. And like that was the kind of email, that's the kind of emails we were getting. And then, you know, we also got emails from John Campa, who's a writer for Marvel or whatever he was a writer for, and that went back and forth. Us like talking shit to him and him talking shit to us, and we're like, we're a tiny little podcast. Like, why do you care what we say? You know, I think that's the best part of, you know, doing this stuff. And like you said, like unless you're gonna show your ass or show your feet or, you know, do something gross, you know, you know what you should have done? You should have put Noah in like a tube top and a song and had him dance around in the background. That probably would have got you, you know, some fan interaction.
Yeah, but you were always better though at social media than I was. Like, that's my major weakness. Like, I can put a show, I can get a guest, I can book people. You know me, like I can book people nearly as good as I can talk about movies. But like my major weakness has always been social media. Like, and even now my author page, I'm slowly growing, I'm slowly figuring it out. But like at the start, it's hard to figure out a consistent voice. And that's something we lacked with Potty Snatchers. I mean, you're covering Potty Snatchers, you're covering, like, you had superhero content, you had interviews. And because we didn't have a consistent voice, I don't think we were able to create a consistent base. And that's why we had lacked interaction, because people were probably coming and going instead of people consistently coming and going, coming and staying, because they didn't really know what we were about. And it goes back to what I mentioned earlier. We try to be too many things at once, and we really should listen to Karen McAvoy at the start and being one thing. And that was Potty Snatchers, because when we just became Potty Snatchers, we had a little bit more interaction on Facebook, and we grew a little bit quicker on Spotify and things like that, because people kind of knew who we were, and we were able to really focus what kind of guests we were able to get on, because people that were in the horror space, people who knew about horror, people that could speak about horror freely. And we did a really cool zombie series, I think around for 16 episodes, and we were able to get loads of cool guests on. People like Baish, you came on. You did like a double episode. I think you did like Army of the Dead, and he did Dawn of the Dead, both Zack Snyder movies, and we were able to come in and talk about zombies and stuff like that. Like, so that's the kind of thing that, you know, we're like, I kind of forgot my point, but like, so like, yeah, that was the kind. What were we talking about? Like,
I got blindsided by you saying ting.
Sorry, yeah, but no, yeah. So yeah, later as we were able to just be horror focused and horror centric, that's when we were able to get a little bit more interaction with the book and able to get more consistency in terms of like our views and listens, and also thumbnails. Anyone that's going on YouTube, custom thumbnails are a huge thing if you want views.
Are you drinking water or Purell? Oh, okay.
I'm drinking generic water from Super Value, which is an Irish.
I thought you were drinking Purell. I was like, is he drinking like?
That's how I look so young and fresh, dude. Turned 36 last month, son.
Oh,
yeah.
Look at that. I'm still a little bit older than you, just a tad, like a year older than you. But
that's how aging works, Baish.
You look younger than me. You look younger than me just because your white jeans haven't gotten in there yet. You're gonna get wrinkled, and it's gonna be bad.
I know, son. Call me Benjamin Button because I'm aging backwards. You know what I'm saying?
I like that. So in your life, because I know, I know that you're a father too. So do you take anything from being a dad into your podcasting or into your writing?
In terms of writing, well, I try not to think negative too much. Like when I write something, like, you know, like I try, like some of the shit I write is pretty horrific. So like I try not to, like, I'd imagine like the start of River Bones, the stuff there that, like, if I wanted to kind of slip into like an empathetic sort of mode and how I would feel in that scenario, of course you can use that as a artistic motivational tool. But I know, dude, I'm very superstitious. So, like, as far as I'm considered, my daughter's going to live till she's 300 and she's going to be the king of the world. So, you know what I mean? I never think negative. Yeah, I never try thinking negative thoughts about that kind of stuff. I'm very superstitious. So, when it comes to writing, though, like, the main thing about with daughters is she's the main motivation. I want to do it. I want to be good at it. Same with podcasting. Same with like my job, my day job. The same one, like anything. She's my motivation to be good at things. And the whole idea about writing is I want to leave something for her. I want to leave like a legacy. Like, she's my legacy, obviously, in the world, but I always want to leave something for her. So, like, in terms of like my daughter being a motivation, I wouldn't call her an artistic motivation. I'd call her more of a, like, an actual real world motivation, because I want to be good at something for her to see that I'm like, I can be really good at something. And I think, like, in that, if my business can be a success, like the independent publishing can be a success, the books can be successful, podcasts and all these things, I'm leaving a legacy for her to maybe pick up, and like she can evolve it in her own way, because she's big into writing. She always loves drawing and all these things. And like, my dream would be to collaborate with her in the future on something. So if I can keep this dream alive for the two of us and make a go of it and be successful, then maybe in the future she'll have the onus to go and say, okay, I want to be a writer too, because my father did it. I can do it, because she's way smarter than I am. Like, she's Vinnie 2.0. Like, she's 10 times more intelligent than me. She's the evolved version of me. Like, I'm Charmander, she's Charizard. You know what I mean? Like, so like that's the way it is. Like, you know, so I just want to live, like, the whole idea about writing for me is I want to leave some sort of legacy behind this world. I'm nobody from nowhere, like, so, but, you know, I can be somebody from somewhere if I do something right in my life. So that's what writing is for me, and she's a big motivational tool behind that. Like, I want to be successful for her, so she's got everything in life that she deserves, you know.
Nice. So when you get to a point when, because you did stop, you weren't like really writing, you weren't doing the podcasting, like why did you stop? For people that don't know that you stopped, you know, why did you stop?
This year's been a pretty tricky year for me, to be honest with you. Yeah, like, I've had a lot of personal things happen this year. Ended a long-term relationship, other things, like, so my mind was not focused. So I talked earlier about focus and compartmentalization. I had a real hard time doing that there for a while. But in the meantime, I try to figure out some way of focusing on some things. So I started really focusing on, I became really obsessive about working out and dieting and all this kind of stuff, because I'm trying to create a new routine. And because I was able to do that, and that's how I was able to refocus my mind eventually into getting back into writing. And the podcast took a bit longer. I actually never thought I'd get back into podcasting, to be honest with you. But there's a friend of mine that I'm hoping to collaborate on with something that's a very Irish show. It's a completely Irish show. And that's going to happen in the new year, hopefully, as well. But in the meantime, because he got that into me, the podcasting came back. But I became more disciplined when I started like dieting, exercising, all these kind of things in early springtime. And because of that, I redisciplined myself. I created a new routine. I was able to get back into writing. The podcasting came later, but it's just pretty much creating discipline, dude. Because like what happened was, I was with my partner for a long time. She's a big influence on my life. She's great. She's absolutely great woman. So like after we separated, kicked me in my ass. So we had a lot of discussions about this, and me and you did on Messenger on Facebook, and you were like really helpful to me. Like, and so I got my ass kicked, got my ego got checked pretty much, and I was on such a good roll there for a while, creating my business, writing articles, getting my work shared by people I really admired, like, you know, getting reactions from Mark Hamill and my articles, things like this. Andre Orvidal, the director from Troll Hunter, stuff like that. You know, the podcasts were doing okay. I started a new job. My first book was going to come out. My second book was on there, all these things. And this year was a real ego check for me. So I got my ass handed to me a few times this year. That slowed me down. Summertime was a bit of a barren spell in terms of writing. I was starting a new project, but I didn't really know where to go with it next. So I left it where it was. And I decided after that, after getting my ass kicked, sometimes what you got to do is you got to, like, you know, turn it on and off again. So I went back to the start. I refreshed I went and reviewed River Bones for a final time before I sent it for getting ready for my editor. All the artwork's ready for that. And then I went straight into the Only Lighthouse. So I've hit the refresh button on the writing, so I can start new projects, because I won't call it writer's block. I was just distracted, you know. But this year has been difficult for me in a personal terms. So, but like now I'm getting back on it. Like, you know, Only Lighthouse is nearly ready. River Bones is ready. We Are Many, the next book that I'm going to work on, I'll be working on that really soon. I'm getting some ideas. So I was just kind of like, what you say earlier about the person thing affecting podcast, or podcast affecting person thing, more my personal life affected my writing and podcasting, because podcasting fell away organically, but the writing shut off because of my personal life. That was completely different. Like, it was the first time that I couldn't think of anything to write of, but now it's different. I'm back. Like the creative juices are flowing, because I went back to the start. I read River Bones again. I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I remember how to do this.
Yeah.
And now because of that, like, you know, I'm back in the flow again. Lonely Lighthouse is nearly there. So yeah, it's, you know, personal life, man, it can be so distracting, like, you know. And as I said to you earlier, it's your day to day. Everything else is an escape from your personal life, because your personal life is what goes on all the time. So yeah, my head was in a weird place there for a while, but because of all the shit that happened this year. But like now, the writing is good. My characters are talking to me again, all this kind of stuff. Like, so like it's all good. I'm feeling the juices flowing. I'm like, I really am excited for next year, because like this year kicked my ass, but I'm ready for 2024. First book out in March, second book hopefully out in the middle of the year. So let's see what happens.
So
come on, 2024.
So with you getting, like you said, kicked in the butt and getting your ego checked, it's like when I look at it in that broad thing of like, for me, like, I wish I was like that. And it took me a lot of years to get to the point I am now, where when stuff happens in my personal life, it just happens.
Yeah.
Because before, like,
excuse me,
working in where I used to work, working for the police department, working for all that kind of stuff, I used to take everything home, but just keep it inside. And then that gave me a little thing in my mind where, okay, when I'm done with that and start doing other stuff, when stuff happens, I just keep it in my mind. Then I do podcast episodes where I'm telling people, hey, just let it out and get, you know, help for mental health. But at the same time, I'm like bringing it inside. And I'll be honest with you, like at the beginning of the year, I was sitting here like, all right, I don't want to do podcasting anymore. I don't want to talk to people anymore. It's because, you know, you let all that stuff just mature inside your head, and it just starts to dig a little rabbit hole. And it just keeps going. Like for you, you found the, you know, working out and getting your mind right to a point of like, I need to focus on this first to get my mind strengthened to be able to do this. And then, like you said, podcasting came after that because you did tell me that you were done.
Yeah,
You were like, I'm
completely.
done. I don't want to podcast anymore. That was something I used to do. I don't want to touch it anymore. And then, like, when you were like, oh, I'm thinking about getting back into it, I was like, had a little smile because I'm like, you're good at it.
Yeah, thank
so
you.
It's one of those things where there's some people that podcast that aren't good at it.
Yeah.
Their show is good, but they're not good podcasting. It's just what the show's been made up of, which makes them good. So, it's good that you found that outlet to get, where you were going. So, like, I've read a good portion of your book, Early Bones, and it is, like, awesome. It is great.
Thank
so
you.
It's more of a point, like, in your head, what was going through your head when you just wrote, like, that first couple of chapters? Because if you're a person out there that likes stuff bringing you in, the first couple of chapters bring you in and, like, hold you there. So what's going through your mind?
So when I write, I do very detailed outlines before I write my books. I have like notebooks upon notebooks in my desk. So everything I do is outlined, and I mean really detailed outlines. Like I go scene by scene outlines, and I break a chapter down into about 8 or 10 scenes, and then I work from those. So when I'm writing, what's really in my mind is the chronological order of the outline. And then it's always like movies that I've seen in the past. And I try to find a voice. Sorry, the lead is falling off my microphone. Sorry. When I'm writing, I try to find a voice for the characters from voices that I've heard in the past from other movies. So what I try to do at the start of River Bones when I was writing that was really I wanted to create a chronological order, a coherent chronological kind of order for the story. So the first 3 chapters, the second chapter was the hardest to write for me. It took me 16 days to write 16 pages. So like when I'm writing that book at the start was I wanted to set the scene initially of what kind of world it's in. A big moment happen, get the characters really off kilter at the start. I wanted to try to draw the reader in immediately because it's my first book. And they're the kind of books I like where big things happen early on and everything after that is almost a reaction to the actual intro. And that's how chain reactions occur,
Yeah.
So I wanted to draw people in. I wanted to find a voice early on for my characters. I wanted to find a tone that was similar to things that I like The Revenant. So, and I wanted to have fantastic elements like Hellboy. I wanted to create some sort of real underworld that kind of like just like exists there beyond the world that we know to be true, kind of thing. So these are the things I wanted to set up quickly in the story and later on and things like that. So what I really wanted to do at the start was to find a voice early, find a tone early, get the pacing right early. So the first 3 chapters, I really was focused on getting some lore in, getting some gore in, and like making sure there was no boring. All about the rhymes, but like
I like that. I don't have a critic button, so.
Thank God. But yeah, so pretty much I just wanted to capture people's attention early on, and I wanted to hold it for as long as I possibly could, and that's why I tried River Bones, and that's why it's a very fast-paced story.
Oh yeah, the first, it does hold you there, and you're just like, what the fuck, and then you don't know what's going on. It's good because I even told you.
I remember you texted me.
Yeah, I was texting you like, dude, what the fuck? Like when I'm reading the book, you're like, oh, I'm not done yet. So when you say you're not done yet, he's gonna fix it and tone it down or something like that. Nope, he fixed it and made it like more descriptive of what's going on and how everything's going, which is like, I was like, that's fucking awesome, going like that. So with you being based, essentially, not essentially, but out of Ireland, like what's it like growing up in a town with, no phones and barely any electricity?
The asshole.
and eating potato soup every day.
I actually love potato soup. My ex's mother makes amazing potato soup. Yeah, growing like living in Ireland is limiting at times, but not as much as it used to be because like the world, because of the internet, is such an open place now. So like being an independent author has been really hard because I've got no coverage from any of my local media. I've reached out to them loads of times, they've no interest. I've got no answers back from anyone pretty much. That's kind of weird because like if I think because I see and I know a lot of people that are in a similar position to me and their local medias in Canada, Britain, America, all these places are very supportive, giving them like, you know, shout outs and giving them articles and call like all these kind of things. So the one thing that's been hard is to get any kind of love from a local media in terms of Ireland, which is strange considering I've seen people in similar circumstances to me getting that kind of thing. So in Ireland, exposures, I'm finding it harder to get. Just finding it harder to grow a show. Getting sponsorships can be difficult too. And there's a few podcasts here that are really well set up and they've got a really good base because they came from other fields. Like, you know, they already came from like, you know, the Rubber Bandits, people like that. So like they already had fan base from other kind of places, and then they start a podcast and they're able to kind of bring that pre-existing fan base over and create a listenership or viewership that way. So, and it's everything in Ireland is more limited than it would be in America. Like when it comes to developing shows and stuff like that, especially if you don't have like, you know, a sports background or some sort of pre-existing media fan base that you've already created from a different show or from like TV or something different medium, you know. So that's the only thing about Ireland. It's definitely more limited than a place like America or a place like Canada. Because the reason I say Canada as well is I know a lot of Canadians, you know.
Canada.
The Canucks, my Canucks. What up, my Canucks?
So if you could sit back and like, okay, if you could interview or have one person on your show that would just, you know, we'd have to put a wet floor sign down next to you. If that person was on your show, like who would it be?
John Carpenter.
Really?
Yes. Out of my top 5 favorite horror movies, 2 movies are John Carpenter directed movies. The Thing is my favorite horror movie of all time. Might even be my favorite movie of all time. And in the original Halloween. Like the Thing has anything that I try to create in terms of gore and being descriptive is when I get from body horror, like Rob Bottin's like the practical effects in movies like that. Like it's just so iconic, but it's not that. It's just awe-inspiring and it's captivates the imagination, makes you terrified and grotesque and all these kind of really cool buzzwords. And like with John Carpenter, what he did and all that is he uses all these elements and creates a perfectly suspenseful story every time. Like when he makes Halloween, like only 3 or 4 people get killed in the original Halloween, and it's terrifying because it was all at random. Anyone could have been killed just because you happen to be in Michael Myers' path, you know. So, and then with the Thing, all these crazy things like, you know, with the alien and all this body horror, and you got like a simulation and all this like mad morphine and mutations and all this thing. But it's the suspense, it's the paranoia, it's the pacing. It's what makes that movie truly terrifying. The human elements as much as the alien element. And that's all because John Carpenter is a genius storyteller. And in his heyday, he made some of my favorite movies of all time. He has The Fog, you know, you got Showdown at Tokyo? No, Showdown. Yeah. Is it? No. Yeah, no. Trouble in China.
Trouble in China. Big Trouble in China. We're both like,
like, wait, what? I think we're Big Trouble like, you know. Yeah, and They Live, and like, you know, that you know what I mean. So like in some of his later stuff wasn't like as critically acclaimed as his earlier stuff, but for a few years there, he did The Thing, he did Christine, he did The Fog, he did Halloween, and they're some of my favorite horror movies of all time. Like, and I think I would love to sit down with John Carpenter and pick his brain for however long he'd let me. And I've always been a fan of his. I've been a horror fan since I was a kid. My late brother William introduced me to horror at a young age, and that's the reason I fell in love with so many classics, because they're actually from his generation, not from my generation. A lot of the movies I love actually are from 5-10 years before I was born, and that's because my late brother and John Carpenter was a staple of my like cinematic diet since I was a kid. Like, and I'd love to sit down and talk to him, like, or Steven Spielberg or James Cameron or something. Even though James Cameron, like, you know, a lot of surfer talk in that Avengers 2, Avatar 2, man, like Avatar 2, like, why were all the like dudes, all the Na'vi, like, why were they all surfer dudes? Like, you know what I mean? That really bugged me with that movie. I'm alien, bro.
Love monkeys. So if I'm sitting here and I'm like, since me and you, they're like little blue monkeys. Avatar. So since me and you like we love movies, so if I sat here and I was like, all right, I'm making Vinnie Greene or Vincenzo if he wants to use his stage name. If I'm letting Vinny take over a movie as a director, what movie or what franchise would you want to take over? So we're redoing it. It's like Scream got repumped again. So we're like, Vinny, we're gonna give you whatever green light you want into a movie, one movie, or if you want to do it into a franchise, which movie or franchise are you wanting to delve into?
I'd like to take a crack at making every single Halloween movie in a coherent chronological timeline.
Oh, okay, so you don't want to go here and have it make no sense.
I want it all be one timeline ending with Corey Cunningham killing all of Haddonfield. I know, but really though, one thing I would really like a crack at would be like Friday the 13th. I have a really solid idea about a Friday the 13th movie. Something like that would be kind of cool because that's a franchise that hasn't been done to death in the way like it has and it hasn't. But there hasn't been a Friday the 13th since 2009 or something like that, I think. So that's like 14 years, so like we need like a Nightmare on Elm Street. I won't mind taking a crack at that. Like there's iconic horror franchises that haven't really like we spoke about that before, me and you talking about Nightmare on Elm Street. So like there is like Halloween's done to death completely. Saw done to death completely. Scream is definitely being revitalized, but it's lost two of its main stars because of controversy at the moment.
Well, one was because she didn't want to. They lowballed her. They tried to pay her less than what the dude who was the villain in the last movie got paid. So she was just
that was the
Ortega,
Ulrich's daughter, Jenny Ortega. She left because of pay.
Because of pay. The other girl left had to do with like the war, but Jenny Ortega is saying that the first reason why
the war with Israel and Palestine is
So the first reason Jenny Ortega said why the other girl was going to leave was also because of pay. But then she made those comments about the war in Israel, and so that kind of helped them like push her out. So I don't know what they said they're going to bring back Neve Campbell and what's her name? The one with the looks like skeleton. Yeah. But you're not going to see this. Who cares? She looks like Skeletor with a training bra.
Oh my god, dude! The Me Too movement's still alive and well, dude.
Is it? What? Hold on, wait. I'm black.
You got protection.
I have a force field right here of the Me Too hitting it. So
and I can't say anything. I'm a cisgender white male, or whatever.
You do live in a town where a squirrel on a wheel does your electricity. So
man, you don't be coming after my shire like that,
I would love to come to your shire and have a bowl of potato soup and watch you drink whiskey and make fun of.
I don't like whiskey. I drink vodka. Yeah, I prefer vodka. Screwdrivers. Okay. I love Corona too. I love Mexican everything.
Really?
Everything? Yeah, I love Mexican food. Explain. Enhance.
No, that's crazy. So okay. So with your eating, are you more going towards like Mexican food or? Because I would think like there wouldn't be a lot of like Mexican spots out where you're at. Is there a guy that just rolls down the Pebble Road with like churros and tacos and shit?
It's the churro man. Oh, yes, it's the churro man.
He comes once a month to give like tortillas and patas and all that kind of stuff.
I work in a superstore, my day job. So like we have a massive selection of foods from all around the world. You know, we're not in the 1800s, Baish, Jesus. So like, you know, yeah, like I cook a lot of Mexican food myself: tacos, nachos, fajitas, enchiladas. Like I love Mexican food. I love really spicy food, like, you know, and I love Caribbean food, whatever you want to pronounce it. I love that kind of food as well, like jerk chicken, pork, you know, barbecued, all that kind of stuff. Like the spicier the better. I love spicy food. Absolutely love spicy food. That's my favorite type of food. I love my. Do you know when you make it and it's too spicy and your nose starts running and your eyes are
Oh
like
yeah.
more?
You just see like, ugh, like look like
I bet he was mistaken. It's part of the sauce now. It's part of the sauce now.
no, the huge mistake comes after when you have to go to the bathroom. That's the huge mistake. You got to grip the wall like this, and you're just like, oh, oh.
You're singing like the Mexican national anthem, and you're just
right? That's good shit. So,
literally. We call that a Tijuana eruption.
So if a publishing company came in and they were like, "Hey,
Yeah.
we want to buy Blood Wolf," and they gave you a pretty generous sum of money, would you take it or would you want to stay independent?
All depends on how much creative control I have. Because like if I wasn't independent and if I was working on other people's deadlines, I wouldn't be able to take my time and make the decisions I've made over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like losing Steve Kane, who's a big part of the project from day one. He did a lot of the early concept art and he did a lot of the early chapter title pages. If I was underneath someone else's deadline and he dropped out in the way he did, like I might have had to be forced to do that book without any illustrations at all. But because I was able to work independently and I was able to talk to Thea Margeron, who's been a lifesaver throughout this project, who does my cover and she's done all the interior artwork now, I was able to reset my timeline. I was able to create my own deadlines, and I was able to, because I was able to do this, I was able to develop myself as an author and a storyteller, and I was able to develop the story along with it. So like as the delays occurred, I kept redrafting. I never stopped. I never like said, okay, because there's a delay, River Bones is going to stay stagnant and stay like in its current form. I always looked at every delay as an opportunity to improve as a writer and to improve the story. So what I did was the extra time I gained, because I'm independent, the extra time I was able to play with, because I was able to set my own deadlines, I was able to develop River Bones in a completely new way, in a completely different direction than I had been previously. So when Steve Kane left, that gave me more time to finish and polish the story in a way that I never would have had if he actually hadn't left. So I looked at it as a blessing in disguise, even though he's a super talented illustrator. Now we have a very consistent tone, we have a very consistent style in terms of the artistic direction of the book. And I was able to actually polish the story more because of the extra time I was given because of the delays. So River Bones developed in many different ways, and I think it's actually benefited hugely because of the delays. And because I was independent, I was able to take those delays and the fiscal losses on the chin and just keep moving forward and keep saying everything is a learning experience. Trust the process, accept the pain, and keep going. So that's what I did, and that's why when River Bones hits the shelves March 1st, it's going to be the most professional looking book that I could possibly throw for my first attempt at a book. And all of that is because of delays, and because every delay I was able to learn more and improve the book, the illustrations, everything. And all that became beneficial to me as an author, and it became beneficial to Blood Wolf as a company. But at the end of the day, if I got a really handsome sum and I was able to keep some sort of creative control, yeah, I probably would sell the book or sell the business, because that's security, you know. And if I'm able to be secure, yeah, well, of course, sell out. Yes, sell out. Blood Wolf lives on and get loads of money. My daughter gets a college education, and I'm able to write books and be secure in my life. Yeah, of course, that's a win-win-win-win-win. You know, when do you get that in life? You know,
it's true. So with your book, because I had, and I think I told you, like, do you think that your book at its infancy right now, because it's, you know, one book that you've written for it, do you think that could be parlayed into like a Netflix series or like an Amazon series? Because the visuals it's in that book. Like if you're reading the book, you feel like you're in, like you're in that spot watching it, like you're watching like an episode of a series. So do you think your
Yeah, but
book can get there?
initially, River Bones, I wanted to be a screenwriter originally, or a comic book writer. So I wrote River Bones initially as a 12-part miniseries, and that's how I wrote it. It was like 12 scripts, and I ended up converting it into a novel. So the reason it has that cinematic kind of elements to it, because it was initially a screenplay, and because I wanted to be a screenwriter. It's very dialogue heavy. So I think it would actually lend itself well to being ported over to as a show. But I don't think of anything like that. I don't really think of money. I don't think of wealth. I just want my books to be good. And anything like good is what you want it to be. And if it's
Yeah.
good, everything else will come in time. So I just want to write cool stories with cool monsters, original ideas, and some old ideas crafted in new ways. Stuff that I like, inspirations I like from stuff that I've enjoyed, and money comes, it comes. But like, I just want people to enjoy my stuff, and then hopefully everything else will come organically after that. And I just want to be good. That's it. I just want to be a good writer. That's it. I don't think of anything else.
I'm just saying, like, if I could put you in a room with somebody from Netflix or Amazon, you know, a finder speed my way, I would not poo-poo that. I'm just saying, like,
Oh, dude, I'd give you 10% in a heartbeat, dude. I'm
ooh,
a
ooh,
businessman, you know what I'm saying?
ooh,
Like I said that on air, I'd give you 10%. You're my brother from another Irish mother, man. You know, I got nothing but love for you. Yeah,
ooh, ooh,
10% a
ooh,
heartbeat, son. You know
ooh.
me. I'm
So,
generous that way.
ooh, I like that. Prison generous? I like it.
Well, depends, circumstantial.
So
I've been single for a while, so yeah, maybe.
I'll rub your back. It's okay. I got big hands. It's all right.
Open the flower and watch it blossom. Oh my
Yeah,
God. That was great.
I got Andre the Giant hands. Let's do this.
You tear
Just
me in
cover your
half,
whole face.
dude.
Just cover your whole face with my
Yeah.
hands.
Ooh. I'm the bear and you're the trout. No.
I like that. So out of everything that we talked about, like if you were sitting there and you were giving a aspiring writer or aspiring person who wants to start a podcast or is lost in their podcast, like what advice or what would you tell them?
Consistency is key. Like creating routines, being detailed, being meticulous. Work longer than you're willing to work. Make sure like that you keep your work balance and be refreshed and all that, but you have to keep pushing yourself. Like I was writing 10, 12 hours a day during the pandemic. I was unemployed. I was like writing articles, all this kind of stuff. And like I was just able to pour, I said I was going to pour 10, 12 hours a day. I was exhausted most days. Getting up, I didn't want to write. It's like when I tried to lose all that weight. I got up 6 times a week. I was working out. I got up. I was so tired. My legs were killing me some days. My arms were killing me. But I just worked out. Trust the process, accept the pain, like I mentioned earlier. So if you want to be a writer, if you want to be a podcaster, consistency is key. Create a routine, be meticulous, and then just keep working through the ruts. That's what you can do, because every day you can improve. Every day you can actually learn something, so you can learn how to improve. And that's what's big about being a writer. You have to learn how to improve, even though it doesn't seem like you're improving. That's the same like anything. If you want to do weight loss, people say every day you look in the mirror, you won't notice the change. And then 6 weeks later, boom, you notice something. And that's the same with writing, it's the same with podcasting, it's the same with conversations, same with interviews, same with writing articles, any of these things. It's that you have to trust the process, and you have to listen to people that have been doing it longer than you and do it better than you. And that's one thing I'm very grateful for. Like throughout my career journey, whatever you want to call this little thing that I'm doing right now, I've been very lucky to meet people like Ben Gali. I'm very lucky to have Susan Geiger as my editor, Tia Margeron as my illustrator, Steve Kane previously. Very lucky to work with a dear friend like Noel John, meet people like you, people I can trust and grow with and experience different things with. So like all I say to people is surround yourself with people you can trust, surround yourself with competent people, and be consistent. And you never know what you can do. Like, and that's the same for writing, podcasts, and life, working out, anything. So just be consistent and be meticulous, and then you never know what you can do in life.
Nice. So yeah, that is
Nice.
Vinnie Greene. So before Vinnie Greene and myself, Baish, get off of here, I want him to be able to tell you where you can find him, you know, his publishing company, his book when it comes out, and just, you know, tell everybody everything about you so they can stalk you and you know, try to get, you know, pair your draws and snip them.
Yeah, if you want to sniff my jaws, as Baish says, see that? Like, so at Blood Wolf Indie Pub on Facebook. We're not really anywhere else at the minute, but I'm coming back on Instagram. I'm going to go on Twitter, which is now X, and I'm hoping to go on TikTok for the first time ever, because I have to try to grow my social media presence, because it's the only way to really grow a brand now. And because I'm coming from such a small place and in such a small space and such a busy kind of medium in terms of independent publishing, that I need to grow some sort of social media presence. So I'm going to start spreading out into different places, because now the content is starting to grow, because we have all the illustrations ready. We have the release date. We want to try push now and try to get on more podcasts and do promotion and marketing in a new way, like, and I want to improve. We have a giveaway currently going on Facebook. Anyone wants to participate, you can follow the instructions on our page. There's a €100 grand prize. There's 2 t-shirts, some awesome prints. Like, one is our centerfold that's going to appear in the book, and then there's the other one that's the map of the territories where River Bones takes place. So you can find us on Facebook currently, but we will be stretching our social media wings over the next few weeks and months, because like it's the only way to grow in today's environment, pretty much. And I've been kind of lazy with social media over the past few months, but shit happens. Yeah, shit does happen.
So I am Baish. Has been breaking down with Baish. I want to thank my very special guest, Vinnie Greene or Vincenzo Granetti. However, he, I remembered that, huh? Yeah, just
call back.
Yeah. But yeah, I want to thank you guys for listening to us, watching us, laughing with us, having fun with us. Again, I am Baish, and that is Vinny, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, peace out.
Peace.
Word.